Okay, what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm just gonna focus. Yeah, check that out. I just manually focused this biatch. And I'm using my good microphone. So happy. Finally got this thing configured and set up and working. Just in time for Rick and Morty Season 1, Episode 3. And we're finally getting into the good stuff, man. We're finally getting there. I don't really have a top 5 list or a top 10. But if I had a Rick and Morty top 5 or top 10, this episode would be on it. We've finally gotten to the first episode that I would specifically call out as an episode I would recommend to someone to watch as their first. And this one was one of my first. It wasn't the first Rick and Morty episode I watched. That was actually number 4. But this is one that I watched with that first section, that fateful night, that fateful evening over a year and a half ago. And this is still one of their best episodes. This episode 3, Anatomy Park. But before I talk about that, I want to say a relationship question that I often get asked, that I get asked frequently, is, Marler, what to do if one partner in the relationship has a different sexual appetite than the other? This is a real pickle. Quandary that affects many people, but well, yeah, in fact, I know a guy, I'm going to call him Jeremy, who is trapped in a relationship with a woman who only likes to do it 3 times a year, tops. And she thinks that she's making a concession even to do it that much. But my friend, whose real name I'm not going to reveal, would like to be getting his dick wet more often than that. So, but that's actually kind of atypical. In couples over 30, it's more common for the woman to want more sex than the man, if it's a hetero couple. I read that because women peak at their sexual peak at around 30, while men have their sexual peak at like 20, and then they slowly decline with a long, slow decline until they die of cancer or loneliness or heart disease or whatever is killing the man in your life. Let's get this relatable. While women have their sexual peak at 30, and then they just keep strong. They just keep powering through right until the end. Older women, man, beast in the sack. They know stuff. They're enthusiastic. Older women are where it's at. But if you're in a relationship now, well, and you find that you both don't have the same sexual appetite, well, maybe it's time to start thinking about not being 100% strictly monogamous. You know, if one person likes it this much and the other person likes it this much, you know, this person's fine, and this person should start seeing some other people on the side, right? And if you're the one with the lower sexual appetite, give your partner permission. You know, you bring it up. Don't make them have to ask. Okay? If you don't like sex as much as your partner, that's cool. Don't make them come to you and say, I think we need to have an open relationship. No, you can say it to them, like, look, I know what you need, I know what you want. I don't want to give it to you that much. You know, and I trust you to make healthy decisions. Say that to your partner. Strict monogamy is not for everyone. I can understand most people wanting to be somewhat monogamous. Makes sense. But being strictly monogamous does not work. It sucks for most people. Most people shouldn't do it. And it's a misconception in our society that most people should be strictly monogamous. No. So that's my relationship advice for you today. Now, episode 3 of Rick and Morty, I think, is special. For one thing, it's the first episode where they feature special guest voice actors, right? We got John Oliver voicing Dr. Xenon Bloom, and we got Dana Carvey voicing Jerry's father. You know, this was something else that was interesting to me to watch this in order. Because, again, I didn't appreciate it when I watched this the first time. I didn't appreciate that I was watching the only episode with Jerry's parents. They're introduced kind of like maybe they're going to be a recurring thing. Maybe the writers thought they would be. Maybe they will be. Maybe we'll see them again. I don't know. But this is only episode 3 where they lay on us the fact that Jerry has parents. They're both there. They're both showing up for Christmas. And they got this guy Jacob with them. And this moment where Jerry's mom and dad step in with a young black man named Jacob, which is presented to us without commentary or explanation, and you're just wondering what his parents are doing there with a stranger, and they say, "Oh, didn't you get our text?" And he said no, because he just made a point about not using texts on Christmas Day with his family. This situation is so awkward, so outlandish, something that so few shows would dare. This would top level comedy. This is an elite comedic idea right here. This is Rick and Morty at their best. The moment Jerry's parents walk in, it's set up so perfectly. Think about season 3. Remember when you watched season 3? There was never a moment, except in episode 1, which was the best episode. Episode 1 of season 3, which was great. Other than that, the rest of season 3, there was never a moment where you cared, right? In Pickle Rick, which should have been a great episode, there are no stakes. You know he's going to get out of it somehow. In every scrape they get into in season 3, you know they're going to get out of it. They've set it up that Rick is pure magic now. He has transcended, this fleshy medium that the rest of us are stuck in, and he's become being a pure energy. There are no rules anymore in season 3. But going back to season 1, episode 3, Anatomy Park, when Jacob walks in, you care. You want to know who this guy is. The writing sets up the tension so simply and elegantly. They don't have to keep telling you that it's weird that Jacob's here. They don't overdo it. They don't pound it into your head. It's enough that this polite young man has just shown up with no exclamation, and he's being perfect, and he's talking eloquently. You can tell that they put some thought into the concept here, and you want to know where they're going with it. It's not like season 3 where you see them in Mad Max world, and you're like, oh great, they're in Mad Max world now. Who cares? There's never a moment where you need to know how it turns out. It never sets up a question. Rick's got this huge arm. You don't really care. So going back to the episode I just watched, season 3, Anatomy Park, Jerry's parents are there. They brought this weird guy, Jacob. Meanwhile, in the probably the I don't even know which story is the main story, but in the Anatomy Park story, Rick has set up an amusement park inside an old man where he has to shrink everyone down with a shrink ray. And again, it's just a good, solid story, a good concept that hasn't been overdone to death in science fiction. They're not the first to do it. I think that might have been Mrs. Frisbee, actually, with her magic school bus shrinking down and going inside a person. So, episode 3, season 1, Rick and Morty.